So the next topic that we are going to cover is related to files. Okay, now what do you understand, like how will you do file operation, or why do we need to do file operation? First let's understand that. Okay, now suppose I'll write a program. Okay, fine, and inside our program I'm creating some variables. Suppose say there is an integer a of size, maybe this is my bank account number. Okay, fine, and I have, suppose say the bank account number is 12345. Okay, and suppose say I'll have a variable for balance. Okay, now this balance which is there, suppose say I have some 5000 rupees inside that, 5000.54. Okay, fine. Now the information which is there inside a program, after processing and after everything is done, the information will get deleted, right? Now suppose say you're making a banking application like this. Okay, now assume this thing, every kind of day some banking information, somebody is coming, somebody is depositing money in the bank, in their bank account, and as long as the electricity is there, this record will be saved, or as long as this program is running, the record will be saved. But what if there is a power outage and the server is down? In that scenario, should it happen like all the information that was there inside these variables should get deleted? But obviously no. For example, say if it's your account, you will say you want every money whatever you put, right? So for this information whichever is there, that information should be saved somewhere in the file, somewhere it should have a backup, right? So that's why we are dealing with file operations now. Okay, so the basics of files, basically like the basics of files are like, whenever we are dealing like with files, we are trying to create or we are trying to insert some data into the file, we are trying to read some data from the file. So that is why this file handling concept comes in picture. Okay, so the file handling is the storing of data in a file for a program. So whatever program you are writing, whatever information is there, you will be saving it in a file. That is your basics of file handling. Okay, why will we do that and how will we do that, we'll see that also. So there are some basic operations that we can use. We can create a file, we can open an existing file, we can do reading operations, we can do writing operations. We, if you want to kind of copy some data from one file to another, we can do that, and we can do closing of file. So these are the basic operations, basics of operations that are related in C programming. Okay, now as we have learned functions, we will be seeing a couple of functions that are already inbuilt. We don't actually need to in fact even include any other header file as well. By default in the stdio.h header file only these kind of functionalities are available. Okay, so one is your file open, f open operation is there. Now this f open function which is there, that takes two parameters. One is the file name, second is the mode. Now what is this mode, we'll see about that as well. Okay, fine. So if I come on to, yep, here. Okay, so here are a couple of modes basically that you can see. One is an R, W, A, R plus, W plus, A plus. These are the different modes we have. For our kind of sake, we'll consider only these three for now. You can kind of experiment with the other ones on your time. And other than that also there are different other categories as well, access modes. Okay, so one is R mode. R, what it does, it opens the file in reading, for reading purposes only. Means whenever I've opened a file in this mode, R mode, in reading mode basically, in that time, at that time basically I cannot write or I cannot insert anything into that file with the help of that object. Then we have a W mode. W mode is for writing mode. So whenever I want to write some data into the file, that time I will open it in W mode. Then we have an append mode. Okay, now the append mode, what it does is basically it adds to whatever the file has already existing data. It adds more additional data at the end of the file. So this is your, these are your basic three modes. Other than that also there are another modes, but for now let's just focus on these three. Okay, so coming on to the program. Okay, so if I want to create something, if I just want to say file, okay, so now as we used to write integer, character, float, so this is the data type for file. Okay, and we'll be using pointer, suppose say file pointer underscore wr. Suppose I'll say for writing mode I'm using this pointer. Okay, now this was your basic declaration. Now if I want to declare and define also, declare and define directly, what I can say is file, I'll just say comment this out, equal to f open. Now f open function is there. Now you will see it will ask you for the name of the file. Suppose say I'll say name of the file is uh, hello.txt. Acha, always remember whenever you're giving the file name, give the file name also and the extension also which is there. Okay, and I open this file in suppose let's say I'll open it in write mode for now. Then again that also should be in double quotes. I'll open it in write mode. Okay, fine, I did this part. Okay, once this is done, what I will do is I'll simply say, okay, now there are a couple of functionalities if I want to write to the file. As soon as I do this thing, okay, and one more kind of important thing should be I should do fclose. Okay, and I should be passing the file pointer to it. Okay, so in between these two things I'll be doing my code. Okay, because if I don't close the file, the changes which I am doing won't get properly updated in the file. Okay, and this is also helpful when you are doing kind of programming with multiple people together, right? So in companies you won't be like one person won't be handling entire project. There will be a lot of people. So if you're using some file, you do the work and you close the file, you revoke the access, and so other people can get access to it and they can use it and they can edit it accordingly. Okay, so coming on to this one, inside this if I want to write some data onto that file, Acha, now if I only if I do this thing, okay, I'll just say save this. Okay, and I'll say file operations suppose. Okay, fine, file operations dot c. Okay, fine, and if I compile this code, acha, I like fp underscore wr, yeah, my bad. Okay, so if I compile this code, I'll be getting 0 error 0 warnings, and if I run this code, okay, nothing is there created on the output. Okay, but now if you go into the files which where these files are basically, so if I just open the folder location, okay, so inside this you will find this hello world.txt. It just got created. Okay, fine. Acha, let's do one more thing. I'll just do this. I'll create a folder. Okay, and file operations. I'll make this folder name as file operations. Okay, fine. And here what I'll do is I'll create. Okay, I'll save this whatever program I'm saving it. Basically so I'll save it in that folder as well. This is save as in file operations. Okay, and I'll save this file over there. Okay, now if I go to this file operations folder, okay, inside this file operation folder there is only this one kind of file that is there, .c. Okay, now when I run this program, okay, now if I say compile the code and run the code, okay, the output has nothing over there. But if I go into my folder location now, okay, file, okay, you can see this hello.txt file is created. Now then again, this is an executable file. This by default gets created whenever you run the program, but this is the hello world text file that is gotten created just now. Okay, now the thing which is there, with the writing these two lines of code, I am able to create a file, but inside that file there is nothing over there for now. So if I just say open it, the size is also 0 KB, but even if I open this file, you can see there is no text data over here. Fine. Now if I want to write something, suppose I write hello world. Okay, hello world 123 and some lines of text. Okay, fine, I wrote that data manually. I am kind of saving that data. Okay, I'll just click on file, save. Okay, and I close it now. So if you notice, automatically the size has kind of changed, and if I open it, I can see that data over here, right? Okay, now what I'll do is from my program, I'll go to my program, and over here I'll try to write something into this hello.txt file now. Okay, now for writing something we have certain commands. Okay, so if I want to write some information into my file, there are a certain commands that I need to follow. Okay, now very first command would be where are these commands? Okay, there will be fprintf and fputs. These are the two functions Okay, these are the two inbuilt functions that can be used to write certain data onto a file. Okay, fine. So there is this thing, see, f put s. There is an f put c also. Basically, you will put one character at a time. Okay, and then again there is this f put s. This function is there. Okay, and there is an f print f. This function is also there. Okay, so these are the two important functions I would like to show you. Okay, so now fprintf, what it does is, it firstly whatever the file pointer that you have created, you will pass that as a parameter. Then whatever you want to type, you will pass that over here inside the double quotes again. Okay, and if you are using fputs, you will first pass the thing what you are typing, and then you will pass the file pointer, and then basically you are going to close this thing. Okay, so if I go into my program, let's say I'll just use fprintf. Okay, now this fprintf function is also available in stdio.h. I think so in the last session when we are dealing with header files, I think so we have covered this thing. Okay, so fprintf, and I'll say the parameter which is there that I wanted to pass was this thing fp, right, because that is what I have created. Okay, and I'll kind of simply put a message. I'll say C programming is easy to learn, something like this. Okay, some message like this. Okay, and I'll simply close the file. Okay, now because I have done it in write mode, suppose I compile this code. Okay, and I run this code, I am getting 0 error 0, like basically 0 error 0 warnings over there. And in the output I have written, like I have not written any printf lines, that's why I'm not getting any output here. But if I just say close this thing and I open my text file. Okay, now see, and everything that I had written over there, that has been kind of, what is it, deleted, and only this one line was written. Okay, so now this is the kind of importance, or this is the thing that you should understand. Suppose say if you want to clear the old data and kind of rewrite something with the new one, that time you will go for the write mode option. Okay, suppose say I'll use fputs also, fputs. Okay, fine, fputs, and here I'll say learning about C programming file ops. Okay, and I'll give it the pointer that we have. Okay, fine, and just for an ease of use, I'll give a slash and maybe over here, and maybe a slash over here. Okay, saving this code, compiling it, and running it. Okay, obvious we won't get anything on the terminal, so I'll simply say close this. Okay, we'll go to our location, file operations, and inside this hello.txt, if I check, I am getting these two lines. Okay, so the thing which is there, as soon as I opened the file, whatever I did over here, and after that I closed the file, right? So only these two lines which are there, that are being displayed onto kind of the text file which we have over here. Okay, fine. So this is about your write mode. Acha, what I'll do is I'll keep the program entirely same. Instead of just write mode, I'll say append mode, A mode. Okay, now see what the output will be. Okay, and just for simplicity's sake, I'll just do something like slash in here as well. Okay, fine. So I'll simply say compile the code and run the code again now. Okay, obviously we won't get anything on the output, but if I go to the file operations and open this hello.txt, okay, you can see these two lines were there already, but when I appended it, something got came over here also. Okay, now what I'll do is, I'll add some my lines of code. Okay, I'll just type over here some lines of code. Fine, I'll save this thing. Okay, let's close this, and I'll go to the program again and I run the program once. Compile it and run it. Okay, fine, and if I go to the file again and I open it. Okay, so what append mode is doing is, it is adding the content after whatever the lines of code already exist. Fine. So there is a difference between write mode and append mode. Okay, that's kind of the major difference between write mode and append mode, I would say. So what write mode does is, if I write this program, everything will be cleared and only these two lines will be visible to us. Okay, let's do that one more time. Okay, fine. So from append mode I change it back to write mode. Okay, fine. And I'll say compile it and I'll say run it. Fine. So the program got executed. Now if I go on to the file, open the file. Okay, you can see everything was deleted, only these two lines of code is visible now. Okay, so that is the difference between your write mode and append mode. Okay, just for simplicity sake, what I'll do is I'll just print it out. Okay, fine. I'll copy this entire code, I'll paste it here, and this will be just for append mode. Okay. Okay, and I'll specify it here as well. Suppose say write mode, and here I'll say suppose append mode. Okay, fine. So look, this is so far so good. We have something we have written, we have something we have that we have appended. Okay, fine. Okay. Now what about reading from file? Suppose I create, go over there. Okay, fine. I'll just create, suppose say a new text file maybe. Okay, new text document, and I'll say readme.txt, something I gave some name like this. Okay, now this file which is there, okay, this is blank now, no content is there. What I'll simply do is I'll go over here, I'll copy these lines of code. Okay, simply say copy it, and then again not even lines of code, and copying a text. Okay, fine. It returns blah blah blah, then you can do something like this, function something, and these are the four lines of code, four lines that we have typed in it, let's assume. Okay, so I'm saving it, I'm closing it. Okay, fine. Now if I want to read from that file, okay, read mode. Okay, again I'll have to say file star, then again give any name. Suppose say I'll give read file, okay, is equal to f open in brackets, what was the name of a file, readme dot txt, and open this file in which mode, read mode. Okay, fine. Now we want to read data from file. Achha, for reading also there are certain functions. Okay, something like you have something called as fgetc that will fetch one character at a time. This is actually important kind of to understand the end of file, where the file is basically ending. Okay, then you have fgetS function which is there. This is kind of a what you can say, you can get a string, entire string from that. Then you have fscanf over there. Okay, okay, so these are the basic what you can say, functions that are already available to us, inbuilt functions that we are using. Okay, so if you are putting, or if you are getting the data from fscanf, so this is the syntax. You will give the file pointer that you have created, you will give the file pointer name, then you will say whatever %d %s whatever is there in your system, and then you will kind of, if you want to read entire line, so then you will say %s over there, so it will take one line at a time. Okay, and it will do this thing. Then you have fgetS function which is there. In that scenario only, kind of what you will do is you will take the buffer, what is the maximum size of the buffer, and basically you will pass on the file pointer, and then again you will have to write this line kind of before that. This is called as typecasting. So it is converting this fp whichever is there into a pointer format first. Okay, it is easy for ease of understanding basically. Okay, so this is the second line, and so on and so forth you can print. So now in our program we have four lines basically, right? Okay, so what I will do is simply, okay, Okay, I'll say, suppose if I say f scanf. Okay, say f scanf. Acha, then again for that also I have to create a buffer, maybe character array. Okay, so I'll say character str of maybe suppose the size 1000. I am not, okay fine, I'll do something like this. Okay, and I'll say read file. Okay, and I'll say scan it in where, in the string variable which is there, and I'll simply say print whatever you have scanned on the screen, percentage comma the str value. Fine, we'll say, suppose say this is my line 1, and I'll maybe give it as slash n also. Fine, okay, let's just save this thing. Achha, then again close the file as well whenever you're doing this thing. F close, and what you want to close, wherever that read file, whatever file you are reading, close that file. Okay, let's just say compile it and now run it. Okay, so now, okay, that's good. Okay, so now if you notice the output which is there, what we had in the file. Okay, okay, fine, so this was the file, right? Okay, over here it only took this part and it only printed this much only. Why? Because this section which was there, that contained a space, and I think so I had told you before on also, in terminal also, whenever we are dealing with string, and when we give a space, automatically the string has ended. So for this system the string got ended basically, and it printed this, only this much part. Okay, fine. Okay, so how to kind of read this thing, how to read this entire line then, other than that, if this is not working? Okay, so for that, so let's just do this thing. If I just, instead of this thing, I'll say f get s. Okay, if I use f get s, and I'll say suppose line 2, whatever that is, line 2. Okay, now f get s had a different kind of approach. It had, firstly, you will, the syntax basically is the syntax, yeah. So this syntax of getS was kind of, you will put your string, the character array name, you will put this size, whatever the maximum size you want to capture, and you will give the pointer. You won't give any you won't specify %s, %d or anything like that. Okay, so if we do that, if we say string was this thing, and we have a space of 4000, and we'll say read file, this is the file pointer that we are passing. Okay, fine, and we'll read this and we'll see what happens. Okay, compiling it, running it. Okay, so if you notice now, this part which is there, it is reading the entire line. Okay, so it read the entire line till when, till this one line basically. After this there is a slash n. Okay, new line, it is going on to a new line, so that entire line was read. Okay, if you notice, so that entire line was there from this point. From this point on, basically that entire line got read. Good. Okay, so the thing which is there here, basically we have to follow that principle. Now we have to kind of read one line by one by one, and we have to print it out. Okay, so now this is coming in handy. So if you have a document and you want to document, like in that document there is one kind of message that you want to display over here, or there is one code that you want to display over here, you can use fprintf of here, fgetS, any one of those. Sorry, fscanf or fgetS, any one of those basically, to read that from there. And to print it, like to write something into the file, you have fprintf and fputs. Okay, so these are the functions that you already have in handy. Okay, so this is your basic working of files. How will you kind of use those files? Okay, let's just take an example. So let's, what I'll do is key, yeah, so let's do this thing. I'll create a text file here only itself. What I'll do is here. Okay, fine, I'll create a text file. Okay, and what I'll do is, in that text file I'll have a bunch of numbers.txt. Okay, fine. And here I'll enter a bunch of numbers, maybe chalo I'll say 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 0. Okay. So I think so around about 19 numbers I have entered, 20 numbers. Okay, fine by me. Okay, so all these numbers, now imagine you have thousands of numbers over here. Okay, or let's just say I'll simply say copy it, paste it, paste it, right? So all like almost 80 numbers I can see over here. The line number is 80, so almost I think so 80 numbers I have entered. Okay, now all these numbers, consider this as a record for some people, right? Okay, I'll save this program, I'll save this file, I'll close this, I'll come to my program. Okay, fine. Now what I want to do is I want to read that data. Okay, and I'll say void main. Okay, fine. So I want to read something, so obvious I'll say open a file in like read mode. Okay, I'll create this file pointer, I want to open it in read mode. Okay, now suppose say if the file doesn't exist, suppose say if I mistakenly do something like this. Okay, okay, here only chalo I'll say do it is equal to f open, and I'll say open a file numbers.txt and open that in read mode. Okay, but the thing which is there, the function or the file that I've created is different. Maybe I give a different name to it. Instead of numbers, I'll say numbers123. This is the file that I want to open. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll just put a condition, if, just check for that file pointer. Okay, if it is null or empty, basically it will return a 0 value. So if that is the scenario, just go to the else part and just print a message, suppose say /n file not found. Okay, or if you get it properly, I'll just put a message, file suppose say loaded, something like that. Okay, fine, let's just check this much first. Suppose I'm saving it, I'll just say save, suppose say file read data, something like that. Okay, fine. So I'm compiling it, 0 warnings, and now when I run it, okay, so if you notice, you are getting this file not found message. Why? Because this numbers123.txt file is not present in our folder here. Only numbers.txt file is present. So let's just say correct that thing. If I just say numbers.txt, if I just say save it, compile it, run it. Okay, so it is giving me a successful message that file got loaded, right? So this is also one way of identifying, suppose if the file is not present in the system. So in read mode, if you kind of open a file which is not present in the system, then that time it should give an error, because file pointer is pointing to nowhere, it is empty now. So if it is empty, just display this not found message. If file pointer has some content, then this kind of will have value more than one or more than one. So in that scenario, it will kind of display this message. Okay, now what I wanted to do was, yeah, what my main kind of focus was, I want to load kind of all the numbers. Now there are a lot of numbers that we saw, right? So what I'll do is, for that I'll just create, suppose an integer, maybe I'll basically initialize to 0 first. Suppose I create an integer, suppose size. Okay, I'll be needing those two. Okay, and what I'll do is so as we go, we'll create a character as well. So ठीक है, चलेगा. So what I'll simply say is, I want to load all the data, right? So what I'll do is I'll create a character ch over here, and I will do nothing basically for this for now, and I'll say while, in my while condition I'll say ch is not equal to EOF. Acha, what EOF means is, EOF full form is end of file. Okay, so if we go into the, okay, over here, fine. So this will return, basically you will when you try to get one character by character, basically it will return EOF, basically if the file is ended. Okay, so I want to count that part, basically I want to count that, uh, what you can say, I want to catch that variable first in what in using that get, f get c function. Okay, so whatever is there will be caught in that ch, and when that ch is not equal to end of file, that is what I'm putting the condition. So as soon as these matches, this while loop will end. Okay, and what I'll do is I'll try to fetch those numbers one by one. Okay, acha, now let's assume what I will do is, whatever these numbers are, okay, in this number dot txt file, I'll try to catch all these numbers inside an array. Okay, let's see. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll go into my program, I'll create an array as well. So suppose I'll say integer arr, and maybe I give a maximum size of 100 to it. Okay, fine. And what I'll do is f scanf, okay, and I'll give the file pointer, I'll give the codes. Basically what I want to do is, I want whatever that is, I want to scan it, the number is there, I want to scan that number, I want to put it where, in array of I location. Acha, why I? Because I is initially 0, है ना, and I'll simply say do I plus plus. Okay, and do one more thing, that is I'll say ch is equal to f get c, f get c, and I'll just put the file pointer here. So from this file, just get the next character which is there. Okay, but obvious the next character will be slash n. So as long as it is getting slash n, this loop will continue. After a point, it will come on to the last line, and after the last line, it will have an end of file. Okay, that end of file, if I'm just keeping the cursor also, if you notice, it is giving a -1 something. So the end of file is, I think so, denoted by -1 or something similar, the character which is there. Just say we had /0 for indicating end of string, where we have -1, the character -1, that will indicate end of file. Okay, so what I have done is, I have actually put a while loop that will read that data from that array. Okay, and what I'll do is simply, I'll just put a, like, what after this is done, I'll say the size which is there is equal to I. Okay, and I'll put a for loop for I is equal to 0 again, I is less than the size, and I plus plus. And inside this for loop, I'll simply print, just print a message, array elements. Okay, and we'll simply not inside, I'll print this outside. Okay, and here I'll print, okay, this print, so let's give a /t, and I'll print the %t, and I'll print arr of I. Fine, I'll do this thing. Okay, compiling the code. Okay, 0 error, 0 warnings, running the code now. Okay, so the file has loaded, but the operation didn't get performed. Okay, so there is something wrong with our program. So suppose, say, I'll give here also is equal to f get c, and we'll make it as a file pointer. Fine, so I'll just simply say compile this code, 0 error, 0 warnings, running it, still no output, strange. Okay, so let's size maybe -1. Okay, let's just see this one. Okay, it came inside this condition, but it is not working for these ones. Okay, this shouldn't be actually happening, but chalo, let's kind of analyze what's going wrong. So let's maybe I found the issue basically. So what we have to do is basically for every time this file pointer is working, we will have to kind of do something like this. So just declare the file pointer here, but in if every time when you are working, just do this thing. Okay, fine. So every time the file pointer is there, if you have to open that file in read mode, and then you will perform the remaining operations. Okay, fine. So now if I just say compile the code, okay, now and I run it, okay, so you can see all the numbers which were there in that file that got kind of working. Acha, I put this kind of condition over there just to check if the numbers or if that while loop is working or not. So it worked from, if you notice, 0 to 79, means almost 80 times this while loop worked. Okay, fine. So let me just say remove this part, and let me just say remove this part as well. Okay, fine. So now, okay, fine. So you can see all the numbers are getting displayed. Okay, so whatever the numbers were there in your kind of array or in that file, that got loaded into this array, and when we are using this for loop, we are using this for loop to display that array. Okay, so this is kind of your basic working, I would say, or this is where you would use your file operations. Okay, so all in all, kind of important. Okay, not simple I would say, but then again a very important topic. Okay.